Williams showing a lot of attacking threat, with Sam Tompkins being such a mature influence on the side, and then with the two wingers that we've got, with the threat that they're offering at the moment, I can't see us losing. But then I didn't see a 72-0, whatever it was.
Yeah,
was it
60 odd?
Whatever, it was too many either way.
Different group of people out on the pitch. I think it'll be a Wigan win. Okay, St Helens take on Widnes. This was one of the harder ones for me to pick this weekend. I've gone for Saints. They got a good result against Wakefield. They do need to fix things up in defence. I think Widnes will score some points. But Saints have shown this weekend that if their forwards lay the platform, then they've got the skilled players to execute and put some points on the board. 32 points to 20 in favour of the Red V.
Yeah, I'm going to go Saints winning as well, 34-28. Don't really know why, other than I think their forwards are better and they're at home, and it's going to be tries because Saints can't defend, but they can attack at the moment. It's kind of like going back to the entertainers' days, which might help get a few more people in at Langtree Park, but maybe if they're going to finish fifth in the table and stuff, maybe people will be a bit disappointed with that.
Yeah, I think
but it's better than what Cunningham's teams have been offering up in terms of dourness of like the last year or so. Whereas this year, at least there's well, not this year, this last few weeks, the scorelines are massive and it's not ideal, but at least it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Hull take on Huddersfield over in East Hull this weekend. Now, when we were talking about this pre-show, and I was planning my picks, I went a certain way because I thought that Andy Kelly was going to be leaving Huddersfield. Now, you've led me to believe that he's staying for an extra week, which sort of makes me want to change my prediction a little bit. I'd gone, based on the idea that Kelly wasn't going to be at Huddersfield, for a slim Hull KR win. Hull KR buoyed by their performance, backs to the walls against the performance against Warrington, coming up against a Huddersfield team that might be a bit listless and lacking some leadership. I know Thorman's doing a great job there with Andy Kelly going, but I'm gonna change it up, Mark. I'm gonna go the other way round. I'm gonna go 20 points to 18 in favour of Huddersfield, with the coach remaining, who's got that good result for them over the league leaders. I think they're going to go to Hull and come up against a galvanised Hull KR side. I think through the week they'll be feeling bullish about their performance against Warrington whilst being a man down, and that might buoy them, but I think Huddersfield are going to get the win.
I don't think Hull KR are a particularly good side.
I agree. Huddersfield are a particularly good side.
I think Huddersfield are a better side than they have played more often than not this season, and I think that they'll win 24 points to 16 in favour of the Huddersfield Giants. I think they've got better attacking options, more threatening players who are less prone to making mistakes, I think.
Yeah.
So that's good for them.
Okay, Castleford welcome Rangi Chase back this week as they host the Catalan Dragons. Given that it will take a little bit of time for a stable partnership to form between him and Luke Gale, given the injuries that Castleford have sustained the week previously against Salford, I'm going to go for slim Catalan Dragons victory. I don't think there's going to be a right lot in it. I've gone for a drop goal. I don't think Catalan really are firing on all cylinders either, but I think they've got enough in them across the park to go over and get that result.
Yeah, I just
21-20.
Castleford, it's hard to see them turning things around too much, but every time you think that's when they go and win.
Oh, they bash someone out of the park.
But I kind of feel like Catalan will win in a not great game.
Yeah.
Is my sort of idea of how this one will turn out. So I'm going to go 20 points to 10 in favour of Catalan. I just think if Castleford are missing the strike weapon in Denis Solomona, sometimes you look at that side and you think, where are the tries coming from?
Yeah.
They get so far and then can't quite get over that line. And they've had a few games this year where I've watched them get stopped near the opponent's line a lot in games, and it just sort of suggests that they need to have a few more players going to get that killer instinct.
Yeah.
And they don't. And I'm not sure how well Gale's playing at the moment. He's playing well, but he's not.
The problem, I think, at the minute, Gale, is something
from
what happened when he was at Bradford.
I'm not convinced.
Behind the beaten pack, he maybe doesn't look as good. And if Castleford's pack's being beaten because they're all injured, then that impacts it. And also, he's suffering from what he suffered from at Bradford. If he's the only halfback on the pitch, it's a bit easier to control them. Because you sort of know what you get from Grant Millington. He's a patched-up prop forward playing in the halves. Yeah. So defensively, your job's done a little bit more for you when you play against
the case for the home side, obviously, is Chase might be in the side. Yeah. And that offers a little bit of spark somewhere that they could bring in. Yeah. Maybe off the bench or something. I don't know. And so we'll see. But I can't convince myself, from a predictions point of view, that Catalan won't bounce back. I think that they will.
Yeah. So what was the score you've gone for?
20 points to 10 in favour.
Fantastic. Okay.
Although I kind of would want Cast to win. I think I feel like it'd be a bit of a shame if they dropped out of the top.
I almost agree with you. Yeah. I almost agree. Yeah.
I've enjoyed watching them more consistently.
I enjoy watching them more than I enjoy watching Salford.
Than Wakefield and Widnes as well. Whilst they've had nice times, I think
Castleford's brand of rugby league is better, I think, than what you see at Wakey or Widnes. More so Wakey. But they've just been hampered by this shallow squad.
Although Wakey, when they were winning all those games, it was with very much a free-flowing sort of style and lots of offloads and making breaks across the pitch, not just getting around the edges. I think
the thing with Cast is there's a few
more individuals that you enjoy watching at Cast. That's probably what it is. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, championship games of the week then this week, Mark.
Well, Lee versus Halifax. Obviously, that's two teams in the top four already, and it will go. It will seal Lee's League Leaders Shield, the 7 millionth in a row, third or fourth in a row. Yeah. Halifax, if they win, that will see them move on to 29 points with 2 games remaining, which makes it...
Can't happen. That can't happen.
very difficult for Bradford or Featherstone to win. And Batley and Featherstone, now this is the team in 4th and the team in 6th.
Yeah.
This is a massive game, not just for the two of them, but Bradford have got Whitehaven, which you would expect them to win.
Yeah, well, our running is Whitehaven and Oldham at home and then Fev away on the last day.
So you kind of feel like...
Draw or do you? I'd take a draw, but to be honest with you, what I'd like to see is Lee beat Halifax fairly handsomely, and then Batley beat Fev. Let's put some distance between us and Fev. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get them out of it.
Would you not want Fev to win because you get to beat them if you're on song?
I'd rather Fev be out of the equation.
But these are two really interesting fixtures. Now I think Lee will have enough to win. They'll want to seal it at home and have their sort of 2-week parade of mouthing off about how great they are before they fail to deliver.
Jamal Kukash was at Lee this weekend. He was in the director's box with
there was chat on the Rugby League Extra podcast between the two of them on Thursday night.
Oh, was there?
BBC Radio.
Yeah, they seem to get on quite well, which doesn't surprise me. But I'm not sure if it was the Bradford fans or the Lee fans. I suspect it'll have been the Bulls fans because Lee quite like him, don't they? They were chanting, "What's it like to see a crowd?"
Might have been both.
Well, yeah.
And then in the other game, I'm going to tip Fev.
Right.
Because I don't understand where these wins keep coming from for either time. I think it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be going to the last second. There's going to be something controversial. And I just think like maybe it's Fev's turn to get one of those roll their way rather than Batley's turn.
Well, in a lot of ways, that would be fine for me from a Bulls point of view. But I expect Lee to win, and I would like to see Batley win. League One game of the week, what have you picked out for us?
Rochdale in 2nd versus Doncaster in 4th.
There you go.
There you go.
Speaks for itself, really, doesn't it?
Doncaster have been in much better form of late in terms of scoring tries.
Yeah, massive scoreline this last week gone.
But they've been playing against lower level sides when they've been doing that. Rochdale at home probably give them the edge. They're probably a little bit more battle hardened off late.
Yeah.
So we'll go that way. Rochdale for me.
Yeah, and Rochdale benefit from, although Doncaster have the dual reg relationship, don't they, with Hull? But I was going to say Rochdale benefit from their dual reg relationship with Warrington when it comes to some notable outside backs coming in. Lynham dropped down and played for them again this week, and people like that. NRL, what have you picked out for us?
Well, the Panthers versus the Sharks on Sunday. That's the top of the table Sharks against Zach Hardacre's Panthers, and then the Raiders versus the Cowboys on Monday. Okay. The Cowboys are not as consistent at the moment as they might have been. But the Raiders obviously have got two of our English boys that are looking good for the Four Nations squad, and so cheer on the Green Machine.
That's it. Okay, that's your Super League pod pretty much taken care of. All that remains for us to do is to wrap up the show. Okay, so that's the 107th Super League pod in the bag. It's good to be back to normal and be producing our usual 2 and a bit hours of juicy rugby league goodness. Mark?
Yeah?
SLP recommends this week. What have you got for us?
Well, I'm going to throw in a few things from my trip, obviously. So, I said how great Perth was. It's kind of like a very small city.
Do you think it's ever going to get an NRL franchise?
Perth in Scotland, but kind of as you go back away from within the city centre, it's kind of as you go back further away from the riverbank, it gets a bit ropier.
Yeah,
but
a bit ropier.
It's still very decent and better than I expected it to be. They have a Wetherspoons inside an old bank. That's a very glorious Wetherspoons.
Really?
Only bettered by the Wetherspoons I went into that was inside an old furniture maker's in Glasgow that had a Victorian lift in it that still is in use, which was great. But yeah, Mike took us to this dive bar that I don't remember the name of, and I'm not sure if he paid the bill. Actually, he might have forgotten to and then gone back. But that was his bill to pay.
So I'm just looking at where Perth is on a map, that's all. We
paid the bill for the food, and this is what I want to recommend. Mike took us to a restaurant called Paco's, which was, I think it's like a Mexican restaurant, but upstairs they have a small tapas restaurant. And we went to the tapas one, and it was really, really good. No one else was in there when we were there. We were there fairly early doors though, but the restaurant downstairs was quite busy. But yeah, it was really good, decent value. If you're ever in Perth, check out Paco's for some tapas.
Fantastic.
Then moving over to Glasgow.
I've just noticed on Google Maps the Scone Palace.
Yeah.
It's not made of scones.
No, it's a
palace.
Yeah, it's got a racecourse nearby as well. But in Glasgow, the Riverside Museum, which is the Museum of Transport, the Zaha Hadid designed.
Oh yeah, I know him well.
It's a woman who died not that long ago.
Yeah, no, I know. Completed it, mate. Carry on.
Anyway, really good. Loads of cool stuff to see. It's free entry,
right.
And I would recommend it.
Cool.
If you're in the Glasgow area and you've got kids and stuff, there's loads of things to see. They have like an interactive bit for you to go to with kids. Yes, it does look a little bit like that you've drawn, if that's what you're trying.
No, that's to remind me of something else to tell you about later on.
Okay. You know the build I mean, though. It's got the sort of like heartbeat design sort of roof.
No, I don't
kind of thing.
I'm not the connoisseur of architecture you might think I am, Mark.
No. Okay. Yeah, and then the other thing, I think I've recommended it when a long time in the past, earlier on in the year, but now I've actually stayed at one of the properties. I'll recommend it again. The Landmark Trust. They run like a business and a charity all in one. They basically save buildings of either local significance or historic significance, do them up, but in a way that makes them faithfully restored to what they would have been. They have some really interesting buildings across the whole of the country and a couple in Europe now as well. And I would, where we say was decent value for money as well, I would really recommend it. It was well turned out, very enjoyable experience, hot, semi-off-grid sort of thing. Yeah, they do some bigger properties, so you can rent a house like a group of people, or some smaller ones. They've got some properties that are in sort of like half like derelict sites, and then they've rebuilt in. It's really interesting. Check them out.
Lifestyle Trust.
Landmark Trust.
Landmark Trust. I'm making notes as we go. Landmark Trust. Fantastic. Anything else?
No, they're mine.
I thought you said you had loads. That was like, I was expecting like More than 2.
I'm holding some back for next week.
He gave you some back.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, they are both fascinating and far more interesting than my usual fare, which is basically stuff I've seen on TV this week that's inspired me. The first is the NRL Rookie.
Of course,
it's fantastic. If you like a bit of reality TV and love rugby league, this is exactly that. The only other bit of reality TV that I've ever really got into.